Do you want to know why most people are powerless, even when they pretend to be strong? Because they're terrified of being alone. They'll never admit it, but silence terrifies them. Empty rooms terrify them. Their own thoughts terrify them. And that's exactly why they'll never be free. Because the people who can't sit with themselves, who can't face the weight of their own mind, are slaves. Slaves to distraction, slaves to validation, slaves to anyone who can keep them from hearing their own thoughts for too long. That's the real prison, and almost everyone you know is locked inside it. But you're here because something in you is different, because you've started to notice the cracks in the system. You've started to notice that everyone you know is running, scrolling, posting, drinking, chasing relationships, clinging to groups, anything to avoid being left alone with themselves. And the most dangerous secret I can tell you right now is this: power lives in the opposite direction. The people who truly control their lives, the ones who don't break when the world betrays them, the ones who stand tall when everyone else collapses, they all share one hidden skill. They know how to be alone. They've mastered it. And that's why no one can manipulate them. Because you can't manipulate a man who doesn't need your approval. You can't control a woman who doesn't need your company to feel whole. The people who win in this world are the ones who can walk away and not feel empty. So ask yourself, are you free? Or are you just keeping yourself busy enough to forget how trapped you feel? Because if you're honest, you already know the answer. And I'll tell you something right now, something no one else will say out loud. The version of you who craves constant connection is weak. That version of you has been built by a world designed to keep you dependent on relationships, on attention, on other people's approval. But if you're willing to kill that version of yourself, if you're willing to face the silence, to feel the discomfort, to walk into the darkness of your own mind and not run from it, you will build something almost no one has anymore. Independence, emotional power, true self-mastery. And once you have that, you are untouchable. This speech matters because this is the beginning of that transformation. Most people will hear these words and dismiss them. They'll laugh, scroll away, distract themselves, because deep down, they're terrified of what it would mean to change. But not you. You're still here, which means a part of you already knows the truth. And that truth is this: if you can learn to be alone and powerful, you will own your life. No one will ever own you again. You've been lied to your entire life, and it wasn't an accident. Society has spent decades programming you to believe that being alone is dangerous, even shameful. Think about it. Every movie, every ad, every post you see is selling you the same story. Happiness is found in someone else. Your worth is measured by who you're with, how many friends you have, how many people like you, how many followers you can collect. You've been trained to chase validation like a starving dog chasing scraps. And the worst part? It worked. You believe it. You believe that being alone means something is wrong with you. But let me ask you, who benefits from that belief? The answer is obvious if you dare to see it. Weak people are easy to control. People who fear solitude are easier to sell to, easier to manipulate, easier to keep in line. They need approval, so they'll follow trends. They need company, so they'll tolerate bad relationships. They need validation, so they'll keep scrolling, posting, consuming. The world wants you needy because needy people spend money, give up freedom, and stay predictable. The system isn't designed to make you strong. It's designed to keep you dependent. And every time you panic at the thought of being alone, you're playing right into that design. But here's where it gets interesting. The moment you stop playing that game, the moment you pull back and start standing alone, you become dangerous. You stop buying things just to feel accepted. You stop tolerating people who drain you. You stop letting opinions control your choices. People will notice. They'll feel it. Some will admire it. Others will hate it. And they'll hate it because your independence will expose their weakness. They'll call you cold, distant, arrogant, but don't fall for it. That's just their fear talking. Because when you no longer need their approval, they can't control you anymore. And for most people, control is all they have. So here's your first assignment, and it's not going to feel comfortable. Stop running from silence. Sit with it. No phone, no music, no distractions. Let the unease hit you. Let it sting. That discomfort you feel? That's not loneliness. It's withdrawal. Withdrawal from the constant dopamine hits you've been addicted to. But if you can push through it, if you can build the discipline to face your own thoughts without running, you'll start to feel something most people will never feel: power. Because solitude doesn't make you weak, it makes you sovereign. And once you taste that sovereignty, you'll never trade it for cheap attention again. This is the first crack in the illusion, and if you're still with me now, you've already started breaking free. But we're just getting started, because in the next step, I'm going to show you how to turn that solitude into strength so unshakable that people will wonder what changed in you, and they won't be able to copy it because they're too afraid to walk the same path. You want to know the real reason solitude is terrifying for most people? Because it forces them to see who they really are. When you strip away the noise, when there's no one around to impress, no one to blame, no one to distract you, the truth shows up. And most people can't handle that truth. That's why they drown themselves in noise. Because if they were honest, they'd see how much of their life has been built on other people's approval. But here's the secret no one tells you. If you can face that truth and not run, you can rebuild yourself from the ground up into something unshakable. Confidence does not come from other people liking you. It doesn't come from being attractive, popular, or even successful in the way the world measures success. Real confidence comes from knowing that if everyone left you tomorrow, you would still stand. That if every friend, every partner, every follower disappeared, you'd still wake up, still fight, still grow. That kind of self-belief is rare because it has to be earned. And the only way to earn it is by proving to yourself that you can survive and thrive on your own. Here's how you start building it. You stop waiting for someone to treat you the way you deserve, and you start treating yourself that way. You build habits that feed your mind and body, not for show, not to post online, not to impress anyone, but because you're worth that investment. Wake up early and read. Go for that run. Cook yourself a meal like you're someone important. Write down your thoughts, your plans, your goals. And here's the critical part. Do it consistently, even when no one sees it. Because every time you show up for yourself, you're casting a vote for a new identity. The identity of someone who doesn't need the world to clap for them to keep moving. And as you do this, something strange will start to happen. You'll notice the voice in your head getting quieter. The doubts will still be there, but they'll lose their bite. You'll look in the mirror and for the first time, feel respect for the person staring back. Not because you're perfect, but because you've proven to yourself that you can be trusted, that you'll show up for you no matter what. That's where real confidence comes from. And once you have it, no one can take it away. They can insult you, reject you, abandon you, but they can't shake you because your foundation isn't built on them. It's built on you. And here's what you need to understand. Most people will never get here. They'll keep chasing likes, chasing people, chasing distractions, because it's easier than sitting in silence and facing themselves. But you're not like them. You're still here, listening, which means you're already walking a path 99% of people are too weak to take. And if you keep walking it, if you keep building that inner strength, soon people won't just notice a change in you. They'll feel it. They won't know why, but they'll sense it. That's the power of someone who's mastered themselves. It radiates, it intimidates, it inspires, and once you reach that level, you'll never go back. Power isn't loud. Power doesn't beg. Real power doesn't need to shout because it moves silently, and solitude is where that power is born. The people who can sit with themselves, think deeply, and act without waiting for permission are the ones who run the world. Everyone else? They're just reacting. They're being pulled like puppets by trends, opinions, and emotions they can't control. But when you master solitude, you stop being a puppet. You become the one pulling the strings. Think about it. The strongest leaders, the most magnetic personalities, the people you quietly respect, they all have the same quality. They don't chase, they don't cling. They don't need anyone to approve of them. And because they don't need it, they get it. That's the paradox of power. The less you need people, the more people are drawn to you. Why? Because independence is rare, and humans are wired to respect rarity. When you're comfortable being alone, when you can walk away from anyone and anything without breaking, people feel it. They sense that you're not desperate, and desperation repels, while confidence attracts. Mastering solitude turns you into someone others look to for strength, because you're one of the few who isn't dependent on them for validation. And here's something deeper, something almost no one realizes. Solitude sharpens your mind in ways constant socializing never will. When you're alone, you think clearly. You start to see patterns other people miss. You notice how people manipulate each other because you're no longer blinded by the need to belong. You start predicting behavior, reading intentions, understanding what drives people. That's how manipulation flips, because once you can read people without needing them, you're in control. You can influence, negotiate, and lead without saying much, because power is quiet observation followed by precise action. And you only gain that precision in solitude. But be warned, once you develop this, some people will resent you, not because you've wronged them, but because your independence threatens them. They'll call you cold, detached, intimidating. Let them. That's not a reflection of you. It's a mirror of their weakness, because they can't stand the fact that you're free in a way they aren't. And deep down, they wish they were you. Now, before we go further, I want you to do something important. If you've made it this far, you're not just listening, you're changing. You're proving to yourself that you can handle truths most people run from. So I want you to lock this moment in. Go to the comments and write this phrase twice. I choose strength over need. Write it twice to burn it into your identity, because this isn't just a video, this is a decision point. And if you're brave enough to claim it publicly, you're already becoming someone most people will never have the courage to be. Because after this, we go deeper. We're not just talking about emotional strength anymore. We're about to step into something far more dangerous. How to use this power in the real world. How to build a life so solid that no failure, no betrayal, no loss can break you. That's where we're headed next. Most people collapse when life punches them in the face. They break under failure, under rejection, under loss. But not you. Not if you understand what I'm about to tell you. Because failure, when you're dependent on other people, feels like death. It feels like public humiliation, like everyone's watching and judging you. That's why most people never take risks. They're terrified of how they'll look to others. But when you've mastered being alone, when your sense of worth isn't built on anyone's approval, failure stops being something to fear. It becomes fuel. It becomes a weapon. Think about it. What can life take from you when you already know how to stand alone? A relationship ends? You don't crumble because you weren't depending on them to feel whole. A business fails? You don't spiral because your identity isn't tied to other people's opinions of your success. You try something new and everyone laughs? You don't care because their laughter doesn't define you. Do you understand how rare that is? That kind of resilience makes you unstoppable, because while everyone else avoids risk, you'll take it. You'll try, fail, learn, and keep moving. And over time, you'll win simply because you kept showing up when others quit. But there's something deeper here, something that will change how you see every setback from this day forward. Every time you fail alone, you're rewiring your mind for strength. The human brain adapts to whatever you repeatedly survive. Every time you face disappointment and get back up, your brain learns, we can handle this. Every time you endure criticism without begging for approval, your brain learns, we don't need them. And eventually, the fear of failure disappears. Not because life gets easier, but because you've trained your mind to be unshakable. That's why I call solitude the ultimate training ground for success, because it's where you build that mental armor. And here's the irony. Once you stop being afraid of failure, you'll fail less. Why? Because fear makes people hesitate, and hesitation destroys progress. But when you're not afraid, you move faster, you take smarter risks, you learn faster than everyone else. That's why self-made winners always have the same story. They spent time in the dark, alone, failing quietly, sharpening themselves while the world laughed. And then one day they walked out different, more focused, more precise, more powerful. And by then, the world had no choice but to respect them. You need to start seeing your life the same way. Stop running from failure. Stop treating solitude like a punishment. This is your forge. This is where you turn pain into power, where you harden your mind while everyone else is softening theirs with cheap distractions. So the next time you fail, don't curse it. Welcome it. Because every setback you face alone is another brick in the foundation of a life no one can shake. And when that foundation is solid, you'll start playing life on a different level. Because now you're not just surviving, you're building, you're creating. And in the next step, I'll show you how to take all this power you've been building inside and turn it into influence, success, and a life so strong that people will wonder how you did it, and they'll never know, because they were too busy avoiding the silence that made you who you are. Here's the part no one tells you. Power built in silence doesn't stay hidden forever. When you master yourself, when you become unshakable in solitude, it leaks into everything you do. And people notice, even if they can't explain why. That's how influence is born. Not by shouting, not by begging for attention, but by becoming someone who radiates control in a world full of chaos. And make no mistake, people are desperate for control. Most are slaves to their emotions, their impulses, their need for approval. But when they meet someone who's not, they follow, they listen, they trust. That's how leaders are made, not by popularity, but by stability. And this is where solitude becomes your greatest weapon. Because while others waste energy trying to be liked, you're focused on building value, skills, knowledge, discipline. That's why self-mastery translates directly into success. If you can wake up and push yourself when no one's watching, if you can work on your craft without applause, if you can keep showing up when no one cares yet, you will win. Because the truth is, success isn't about being the smartest or most talented. It's about endurance. It's about who can keep building when it's boring, who can keep going when no one believes yet. And if you've trained yourself to thrive alone, you've already beaten 90% of people because they quit when the crowd isn't clapping. And here's something you need to hear. Success loves silence. The best deals are made quietly. The most powerful moves are taken before anyone's watching. By the time people notice, it's too late. You've already built something solid. That's why the loudest people online, the ones constantly posting their hustle, aren't the ones you should be studying. The real winners are working in the dark, stacking skill on top of skill, building networks quietly, mastering timing. When you embrace solitude, you jet in that rare group. And by the time you emerge, you'll have something undeniable, results. And results speak louder than words. But there's another layer, something most don't even think about, influence through energy. People can feel when someone doesn't need them. They can feel when someone is focused, disciplined, and moving with purpose. That energy attracts. It intimidates. It makes people want to be near you, not because you're chasing them, but because they want to figure out why you're so different. That's why mastering solitude isn't just personal growth, it's social power. Because when you don't chase, people chase you. When you don't beg for approval, people offer it. When you don't need validation, you get respect. So here's the move. Stop announcing everything you're doing. Build in silence. Work on yourself in private. Build your habits, your body, your mind, your craft quietly. Let people underestimate you. Let them think you're doing nothing. And then, when it's time, show up with results so undeniable that no one can ignore you. That's how you turn inner power into outer success. That's how you win without asking permission. And we're not done yet. Because if you've followed me this far, you're not just looking for personal success. You want to become untouchable, not just financially or socially, but mentally. You want to reach a point where no betrayal, no loss, no manipulation can control you. That's where we're heading next. The real elite level of power, the kind most people never reach, is what I'll reveal in the next part. And when you get there, you'll understand why being alone was never weakness. It was the ultimate training ground. There's a level of power so rare that almost no one reaches it, and it's not about money, status, or fame. It's about becoming untouchable. Not untouchable because you hide, but untouchable because nothing and no one can control you. This is the level where manipulation fails on you, where betrayals don't break you, where life's worst hits only make you sharper. And here's the secret. Most people never get here because they're too busy reacting. They live as emotional prey. But you, if you understand what I'm about to tell you, you stop being prey and start being the hunter. The first truth you need to swallow is brutal. Everyone manipulates. Friends, family, coworkers, most of them don't even realize they're doing it. People use guilt, validation, attention, and even silence as tools to control others. And the reason it works so well is because most people are terrified of being alone, of being disliked, of being misunderstood. But once you master solitude, you strip those weapons away. If you don't need their approval, they can't guilt you. If you don't crave their attention, they can't withhold it to control you. That's why emotional independence is the foundation of true power. It makes you ungovernable. But there's a second layer, not just resisting manipulation, but reading it. When you're not desperate for connection, you start seeing the patterns. You notice when someone flatters you too much, when they use pity to pull you in, when they plant doubts to keep you small. And once you see it, you can decide, play along, disengage, or turn the game on them. This is what elite performers, master negotiators, and leaders do. They don't react emotionally. They choose their responses strategically. And it all starts with the quiet confidence you build in solitude. Here's what most won't tell you. Becoming untouchable isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about emotional control. You feel everything. You just don't let feelings drive your actions. That's why betrayals stop breaking you. When someone walks away, you don't chase, because you understand this one law of power. Anyone who can walk away without looking back was never your foundation in the first place. And anyone who can be manipulated away from you was never yours to keep. That realization frees you, because you stop wasting energy on people who don't matter, and you save it for those who do. And here's where it gets dangerous, in a good way. When you reach this level of control, people will call you intimidating, maybe even ruthless, because they can't sway you the way they sway others. But here's the truth. You're not ruthless. You're focused. You're playing a bigger game than their emotions can reach. And the irony? Once people see they can't manipulate you, they start respecting you. Because even those who try to control others secretly admire those who can't be controlled. And in the final part of this journey, I'm going to give you the last piece, the one shift that transforms all of this power into something unshakable. Because solitude, resilience, success, even emotional control, it all leads to one thing: building a life so stable, so solid, that no storm can take it from you. That's where we finish. That's where everything changes. This is it, the final truth. And if you understand this, your entire life changes. You stop living like everyone else because you finally see what almost no one sees. Ready? Here it is. The ultimate power is not in controlling the world. It's in building a world so strong that nothing outside of you can destroy it. That's what all of this has been leading to. Alone doesn't mean lonely. Alone means solid. Alone means you've built a foundation so unshakable that no betrayal, no failure, no loss can collapse you. That's real freedom. And almost no one ever finds it because almost no one is willing to do the work alone. The truth is, most people are weak not because they were born that way, but because they live like they're temporary guests in their own lives. They build identities out of other people's opinions. They build happiness out of approval. They build confidence out of attention. And that's why the smallest rejection destroys them. But you're different now, because you've seen the truth. You've learned to stand alone, to train in silence, to harden yourself against failure, to free yourself from manipulation. You've built something inside you that no one can touch. And once you feel that kind of power, you never go back. You can't. And here's the part most people don't want to admit. When you master this level of self, you actually love deeper, connect stronger, and succeed bigger. Because now you're choosing everything, your relationships, your goals, your moves, not from fear, but from strength. You're no longer chasing people who don't value you. You're no longer saying yes out of desperation. You're no longer wasting years waiting for permission. You move because you want to, not because you need to. And that's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes you powerful. People can feel it when you're whole, and they'll gravitate toward you, not because you need them, but because you don't. So here's your final mission, and it's not optional if you're serious about this transformation. You need to claim this identity publicly. Right now in the comments, I want you to write, twice, back to back, I am my own power. I do not break. Because when you say it, when you see it, when others see you claim it, it locks in. You're not just watching a video anymore. You're drawing a line. You're saying, this is who I am now. Say it. Write it. I am my own power. I do not break. Twice. Burn it into your mind. And from this day forward, live like it. Wake up every morning and choose yourself first. Build your body. Build your mind. Build your craft. Sit with your thoughts instead of running from them. Protect your time like it's gold, because it is. Every day, vote for the kind of person you're becoming, and when life tests you, and it will, you'll stand. Because you've already faced the worst thing most people can't, yourself. And you didn't run. You trained. You built. You became. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them laugh. You'll be too busy building a life that speaks louder than words. Because now, you're not waiting for anyone to save you. You're not waiting for the right time. You're not waiting for the right people. You are the right person. You are the foundation. You are the power. And no one can take that from you unless you give it away. So don't, ever. Because from this moment on, you are not just surviving. You are rising. And the world will have no choice but to notice,